We're going to start a brief overview of the Reinventing the INGOsystem process from the first workshop through to the fourth, where we closed up last week. For anyone who hasn't yet joined or who has only joined part of it, we wanted to have this in order to get you up to speed.
Yes, the first session was really about connecting with each other, getting to know who was in the room. And on the left side, we see kind of all the check-in. We saw what a rich group came together from very different places of the system. And we discovered in the first session, I think, that we are not sure what exactly is that INGO system that we're talking about. And we tried to understand what are the different powers, who has how much power in that system, to at least understand it a little bit better. But then we discovered that we need to come back to that in session 2. Let's hear about that later. And Pablo, do you want to say some words around the challenges and opportunities?
Thank you, David. This was a really interesting session in which we dove deep as a group into understanding what were the main challenges and opportunities that we could identify within the INGO system. And as you can see, we created some clusters around some categories, and each of these post-it is addressing one specific issue that we identify in the INGO sector. So at the end, as you can see, we identified plenty, and we created a whole map, which was the like the starting point for the next workshop.
The second and third workshops were very much around scenario planning, looking at not what we want to see for the INGO sector or system, but in fact what could be. And as David said, the start-off point for that was to come back to this question: what do we understand by the INGO system? And it was looking at this little map as a way of understanding it, which is having the communities and the beneficiaries that the INGO system is created to serve around the sides here. And within that, we had quite a good dive and debate about the different positions and different actors who should be there, be it INGOs themselves, the local NGOs or CSOs, but also the donors and the NGO platforms. There's obviously also the consultants, regulators, social, private sector, so on. This is a quick summary of that. And then David, if you want to go a little more into the actual process of scenario.
So then we dived into scenario development, used informative scenario development approach, and we discovered 6 key structural uncertainties about the future of the INGO system. And we started to build scenarios around that. So we wrote it, and the first set of uncertainties that we used was what resources are going to be available to the sector. What are the paradigms of organizing? That's very much around competition versus cooperation. And what's going to be the relevance of the INGOs in this future? And how's the power redistribution in the political sphere going to be in that future in 2030? And based on these 2 sessions, we then developed 4 scenarios with an editing team, which we then also brought back into session 4.
Mm-hmm. And these will be shared, well, they have been shared also with the whole group, so you should have them. These 4 scenarios are the compromise to survive, reconfigured humanity, business as the solution, and a deep depleted grassroots revival. they're riveting read. If you want to catch up, please do. And the final workshop before this one that we had was a lot less about sort of working on Mural and developing, the intellectual understanding, and it was much more about coming to somehow bringing all of what we had looked at together, and in particular connecting it to really ourselves and our place in this, our capacity also as a team. We did an exercise of looking at how skeptical and how much do we believe that we are actually able to bring change to the INGO system. And so looking at all the arguments around this. And so really grounding ourselves in this moment of coming together, wanting to make change happen, and letting emerge from a place of stillness, also from a place of listening to our emotional reaction, our body reaction to everything that we've done so far, and letting emerge what it is that action could be from that place of stillness. Is there anything you would want to add to that?
Yes, I would like to say that during this session, we achieved a level of depth that was really surprising and interesting for me, because all of what we have done has not come only from our rationality, but it has come from our intuition as well. And I believe that we have been able to dive into the process and discover things within ourselves and within the group that have been really eye-opening.
And I think what's great is that everybody who missed one session can go back to these boards, go back to scenarios and to this video. And you're most welcome to join again for the next session. We're really looking forward to continue this journey with this fantastic group.
Mm-hmm. And indeed, we've had a few people, even in some of the last sessions, who could only be there for 1 hour, or even just came to do the check-in and then said they had to go. And what was really beautiful was that in their cases where that I can remember, that those check-ins and those moments actually made a big difference to the participants throughout the rest of the workshop, and kept referring back to, yeah, but he said this or she said that. And so you can participate even when you're not there each time, or when you're there for small moments. So we really would love to have people coming to join in this next session, which will be really the crystallizing action, where we'll be looking at what are the possible shifts and things that each of us individually and organizationally feel we can make shifts, and then how can we coalesce around that before on the 18th of June, looking at how we can then expand those actions, having investigated in between times. So thank you very much for your time. Any questions, do let us know on Slack or email, and see you in a few days.
See you.
See you. Bye-bye.